we're really good at going, I'm too busy for this, I've got more important things to do than deal with this emotion right now, and pushing it to the side. But you have to let that emotion pass through you, and then it's gone. You'll often find that you've got no charged emotion to that circumstance anymore. It's amazing.
Tegan Martin, Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thanks, Alex. I've been waiting for this one.
Yeah, me too. It's nice to have a conversation, like you said, that's perhaps a bit different to the conversations you're normally having in your kind of career. And when we initially kind of met, I guess, and connected, I really liked that, as I think is the case with a lot of us, like there's this outside kind of, I guess, not mask, but there's this outside appearance that we have, right? And quite literally in the modeling industry, you have an outside appearance. And then yet where you dig a little bit deeper, you find that everyone's going through some shit, right? And dealing with some things. And you have most certainly been going through some stuff. And I'm looking forward to unpacking a bit of that today with you.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like we have no issues talking, and you're very good at holding the space. So I think this is we're going to go pretty deep here.
So, I mean, well, let's get straight into it. You present really well. You look great. However, you've been going through some things with your health to get to this point. And tell me a bit more about that. Where did it all start?
Yeah. So, I guess you kind of need to take it back to your childhood, don't you? Because I feel like, our health is so much it's a residual result of the past. How we feel now is not necessarily a result of what we're doing now. Growing up, I really didn't have the healthiest childhood, not because my parents, were trying to do wrong by me, but simply because they didn't have the education around food and wellness that we are privy to now. So, I was often on antibiotics for an ear infection, or I was, coming home a little bit later on after school, and I would make myself some Easy Mac. I remember that being my daily afternoon. It was either nachos or Easy Mac. So not many nutrients there, Alex. And that diet and that culture of, play basketball and then have McDonald's after, that lasted throughout, pretty much until I was around 19, 20. And when I started modeling, I started eating a little bit healthier, but it was for all the wrong reasons. It was for the fact that my agent often wanted me to get my measurements down. So very unhealthy relationship with food, and not for any other reason than I just didn't have the right people in my corner who knew enough about it. And then for me, I remember my very first health issue popping up around 19. It was some gut issues. Couldn't go to the toilet, like severe constipation. Sorry if that's too much information, but that's how it all began for me. And if that's happening to anyone else out there, then it's a sign maybe that you might need to start looking at your health a little more closely. So what started as gut issues turned into some very, very debilitating fatigue. And after visiting doctor after doctor after doctor with no answers, it took me a couple of years to find one who did give me some. So yeah, it's a bit of a blur, to be honest, because it didn't happen. It feels like it happened quickly, but actually it was a real slow burn. It was the gut, and then it was some skin stuff. And then, there were so many things going on. It doesn't happen overnight, the decline of your health.
Yeah. This bloody culture that we grow up in, man, it's like, and it's no problem of our parents or the people who bring us up. They're also just living in this culture. Yeah. I remember once I was fresh out of fasting. I think I'd fasted like 3 or 4 months prior, and I was driving from Melbourne to Sydney. It's like 1,000 Ks, right? And all you see on that drive is petrol and fast food. right? And coffee, right? And I'm just like, man, like what weird world are we living in where to get 1,000 Ks in a day, the only options that are easily accessible are drastically processed dead food. It's like, where's the fruit, guys? Come on.
Yeah.
Like where are the whole foods? Like it just
You
doesn't
physically
exist.
have to stop at a farm, Alex, and pick some apples off someone's tree.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, or get your bulk food the day before, like we did. And you really have to be prepared. And if you're not, then you're forced to make pretty challenging choices. But it's just this culture that we're in where like we're not living in an environment that is suitable for health and wellness. Like you got to go seeking it, you know?
It's really interesting you say that because I've never had any, ill feelings towards my parents for the way I, was eating and the fact that I was drinking 3 glasses of processed orange juice every day because they really didn't know any better. And the food has become so much more processed than it was when they were young. So really we're just accessing what we can because I guess we think that everyone has our best interests at heart, but unfortunately, that's not the case. And we really do need to look out for our own health and educate ourselves on what's in our food.
And in many ways, what happened to you when you started having gut issues was a blessing, right? Because you were forced to deal with something and learn about, all of these things, which otherwise may have been another 20 years before you were forced to, because some negative catalyst comes along in your life and you have to do something because otherwise, it's a pretty bad sentence, whatever that might be, So actually having that happen early is a real blessing.
Yeah, I've always looked at it that way, Alex. I think when I was in my early 20s suffering with the fatigue, which, the doctor at one point said, we've looked at everything we can. Your bloods aren't showing anything, that's relating to any other illness. And basically the diagnosis you get when they've looked at everything else, and it's like a process of elimination. After 6 to 12 months, they give you that label. I've never liked to sit with that label because I think, fatigue is such a spectrum and it's been sort of up and down over the years. I've gotten better and then I've gotten worse, and it's been so conducive to how I'm treating my body at the time. But I've never been angry or upset that it happened to me, except for when I was in the trenches. Now I'm just so grateful that I was forced to be exposed to looking at this sort of stuff at such a young age, because it's actually led me to my passion. And now I'm even studying in that space. So yeah, it's actually a blessing in hindsight.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you manage like fatigue symptoms and I guess ill health at that time, when also you were, growing in your modeling career and having success in that space? Because one thing I've often said over the years is like, sometimes you see those people, I'm getting a bit judgy here, but sometimes you see like there'll be some like nutritional expert or something on YouTube or whatever, and they'll be talking about some particular sulforaphane or something really specific, and all the benefits and whatnot, and you're looking at this guy and it's like, well, dude, whatever you're doing clearly ain't working, man, because you don't look well at all.
Yeah.
And I say that because for me, the one of the real ways to tell if someone is in a really vibrant, healthy state is the way that they look, right? And when you're not taking the steps towards a healthy lifestyle, you don't present with that glowing, like infectious energy, So I'm curious, like, how did you kind of manage that when you were suffering all this fatigue, but then also needing to go and present and look amazing for the cameras?
There were some people in my life, like it was really important that I was transparent with everyone I was working with. So when it really started to hit me hard, I was still Miss Universe Australia. So I was still in my contract with the Miss Universe Australia organization. And I had to tell my director that I was not coping with the workload. I think with the opportunities that Miss Universe Australia presents, you can you can make of it what you will. The sky is the limit. If you want to be at everything and network and do as much as you can in that year to really capitalize on that platform, you can. I always felt that I got a little bit robbed of that year because I wasn't able to fulfill all of my commitments. I did sort of the bare minimum in the contract, and then I would go to things if I had the energy, and I would maybe go to something, and then I can't remember. I think it was a naturopath or something told me that it was, I needed to think of it as if I had spoons, right? And so if I had 5 spoons in total for my energy and I'd used 4 by going out that night to an event, then, I was going to be in the negative spoons the next day. I can't remember why she used this.
Yeah, it's
this
a particularly interesting analogy
I think it is like they call people with like a fatigue issues spoonies. I don't know. It's this whole thing, but she basically used to say like, you've got negative spoons tomorrow because you've done this today. So now you have to, you've got to recharge until you've got those 5 spoons again. And so this is really shit. I reckon we delete this.
No, I like the spoons. It's very odd.
No, it was just, I think I've explained the analogy wrong. But anyway, it really got my head around the fact that if I was going into the negatives with my energy, then I was really going to have the time and the resting opportunity over the next few days to catch up on what I'd done to my body. I could not keep up with a normal 9 to 5 schedule throughout that time. And I'm really fortunate that, I was working in an industry where I was able to financially be okay by not working full-time hours. So there was a lot of sleeping going on and there was a lot of guilt kicking in around that time. I had a beautiful partner at the time who would come home from a long day of work and, he'd be like, are you okay? Why are you still in your pajamas? And I'd been sleeping all afternoon because I'd had to go out 2 hours that morning. It was awful. And I didn't want to speak to too many people about it at the time because I was embarrassed, which makes me really sad to think about now. But yeah, when you're a young girl and everyone else is out partying and, living their best lives, and you're missing out on so much growth and opportunity, it's a loss of identity, really.
Man, that old bugger of guilt just is always hovering in the background,
which is the worst vibration when you're trying to heal your body. Like vibrating on the guilt emotion is not where you want to be when you want to be healing your body.
Yeah. And like we just beat ourselves up about these things for no reason, instead of having that acceptance and that forgiveness to ourselves. Oh, this is where I'm at. It's okay. I may not see the path forward right now, but I'll be all right. I'll get there.
Yeah. I think it would have been a lot easier if I had had some more life experience before it happened to me. But I was so young and I probably was not managing it in the best way. Like I wouldn't give up. I just pushed through. I'd have 8 coffees a day some days on set of Celebrity Apprentice to try and keep myself going. Like I just didn't want to have to surrender to what was happening to me. It was like I was too stubborn. I've always been stubborn, but I went through a really stubborn phase there where I was like, I will keep up with everyone. But yeah, it just wasn't possible.
How do you still keep that mentality of energy consumption, if you will, in your mind? So like when you're planning your days out now, you're like, okay, look, I know I'm going to be going hard that day. So the following day I can't go hard again. Otherwise I'm depleting myself. Like,
look, if we're bringing late nights and alcohol and partying into the picture, absolutely. That's for me. I still notice that I don't quite recover the same as some of my friends the next day. It can be hard for me, which is why I'm not a big drinker. Not so much day to day. I'm feeling really great, particularly at the moment. But I do have to with my exercise a little bit as well. Like if I'm going to do a high intensity, air locker workout in altitude and I'm doing like that high, like CrossFit training, then I'm not going to do that the next day like some people may. And I just think that can be, you know, sometimes just women. I think sometimes we need to be so much more in tune with our, you know, with our hormones and our cycle. And so I don't know what to put that down to. I don't really overthink it, but I definitely do. I liked the way you worded that I do watch my energy consumption and manage it in some ways, particularly with my exercise and drinking with friends on the weekends.
Yeah.
Which I try not to do too much of because, as I said, really don't enjoy the way it makes me feel.
Yeah. And it's so easy to get sucked into like this fast-paced nature of the world. And if that isn't in our mind, and I'm speaking from experience, then you just end up depleted. And then your body's like, okay, you're not listening. Like you're going to get sick, or, you know, you're going to have this, or you're going to deal with that because you're not slowing down and you're not listening to the little signals I'm giving you, you know?
Yeah,
so
I'm not sure if did you ever live here in Melbourne, Alex?
Yeah. I was there for like 26 years.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought that's why the office was here. So that's a big reason I actually haven't loved living in Melbourne, because I felt like that is, you know, very much the culture here, as opposed to back in Newcastle or even in Sydney, where I've lived most of my 20s. You know, your socializing is very much walks on the beach. You know, you might go and do a breath work or a yoga session and then have an acai bowl with your friend in the sun in the afternoon, or go on the boat, or, you know, there's so many outdoor activities that fulfill your social needs without needing to go out and drink alcohol and eat food that's maybe not going to make you feel so good.
Yeah, totally. There's many listeners in Melbourne, and I
love you, Melbourne, but just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I used to always say, like, you'd go to Sydney and you'd hire a car from Melbourne, and it's like very like, okay, cool. Like, yep, here's your car. Yep, bye. And then you go to Brisbane and they're like, oh, g'day. Yeah. Oh, you must be Alex. Hey, mate.
It's so true. I really noticed that too. Yeah, especially in Queensland and the sunnier, smaller towns.
Yeah, absolutely. So with regard to like, it sounds like you were, for lack of a better expression, throwing a bunch of shit at the wall and seeing what sticks as you were trying to come out of this fatigue kind of space. So it's obviously different for everyone, and I'm not trying to give a 5-step guide to dealing with ongoing fatigue, but I'm curious to hear some of the things that you tried and explored during that journey.
Yeah, this is something that I try not to go into too much detail about, as much as I would love to, and that's purely because I'm not a health expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a naturopath. Hopefully one day I will be, but fatigue is such a complex issue. And, you know, whether it's chronic fatigue, adrenal fatigue, you know, there's so many different fatigue titles. And I do think there are some misdiagnoses in the process. I know there were for me, and I know other people, even people that I know have had similar experiences where there was just misdiagnosis after misdiagnosis. And so I think, you know, whilst everyone has the best intention, it is a very tricky one to manage and to even just to pinpoint, you know, what's the cause. For me, I always kept the mindset that there was something at the bottom of all of this. There was a cause. I really wanted to unpick things and not manage it with drugs or things that were just going to keep me going. But I wanted to actually know why my body was doing this. And I tried so many things, Alex. Like, I started off with lots of diets, and, you know, I honestly can't even remember. There were so many diets. I think Candida was the first thing. We were like, this is Candida. I think many people who would have had gut issues would have been there. So there was a lot of gut work and Candida stuff going on early on. One of my stools came back one day with a parasite called Blastocystis hominis, which was a really tricky one to manage. And that was, you know, many gut protocols later, I finally felt we'd got on top of that. I was missing good bacteria. So some of my gut results were coming back with no good bacteria. So there was a lot of gut work going on. Then there was a lot of viral stuff going on that people were picking up on. at one point, a doctor who I still see to this day, he's amazing. He said to me, "Oh, your Epstein Barr is actually active right now.
Right.
So you're sort of going around like trying to do life with active glandular fever."
Yep.
And maybe wasn't presenting in like a sniffly or way where I couldn't show up, but it was just presenting in that really, it's like bone crushing fatigue. It's like you just cannot get out of bed. I tried Chinese acupuncture. I tried, I won't mention the name, but I tried a drug with a doctor for a little while there. I tried hyperbaric oxygen chambers. I tried normal acupuncture, massage, chiro, kinesiology. Like, I wish I had actually wrote a list down one day. It's in my diary at home. I'll have to pull it out and have a read, but it just went on and on and on. And Xenon Therapy, I don't know if anyone knows what that is.
What is that? What is Xenon Therapy?
It was like I can't even explain it. I don't want to go into it because, as I said, I'm not a health expert, and I don't want to be leading people down any wrong paths. But for me, it just wasn't an issue to give up. And I thought to myself, this is costing me so much money, but what's the alternative? Like just giving up and just laying in bed. Like there were some times there where my mental health was declining rapidly because I thought this isn't going to end. This is just my life now. I remember a really hard day for me being when I went to visit a doctor, and he said, I think we might need to put you on antidepressants because you're depressed, you're fatigued as a result of depression. Oh. And I remember just thinking to myself in that very moment, that does not feel right with my gut. I feel like there's some sort of invader in my system here. I feel like my fatigue is not a result of my depression, but my depression is a result of my fatigue.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a really tricky day for me. And that's when I really had to start, seeking second opinions and not taking no for an answer. And I just kept showing up somehow. There were phases where I wasn't. There were phases where I was just in bed, like not wanting to get up. But yeah, I had to pay my bills. I had to get out of bed and pay the rent. And yeah, I never have had, huge amounts of financial support. Like my parents are amazing and they've done so much for me, but they're not in a financial position to be able to pay for my life. So yeah, it was never an option to give up. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other somehow.
I mean, that's incredible resilience, because going through that sort of experience is so challenging. When you're being told by health professionals, you're like one thing's wrong and then the other thing's wrong, and then something else is what the actual problem is. And then they start contradicting each other. It's like a fight to it's like, okay, like, can I follow my intuition here? Because what I'm being told isn't quite right. Like, it's very hard to go through something like that. Yeah.
And I think, you should never follow your intuition with your health. You should always, speak to a doctor. And I did, I would seek, another opinion, and sometimes it would contradict the previous one. And that's when it started to get really confusing. But I think one of the things I do tell people, if anyone ever sort of asked me how I managed it or what they could do if they know someone going through something similar, or if they're going through something similar, is to keep fighting for the right health expert to be in your corner. And that's something that I did. And it wasn't easy. I actually did an interview with someone many, many years ago. And I had a guy reach out to me saying on social media saying, "Hey, Tegan, I read your story about your fatigue. I wanted to reach out with the name of a doctor. I know you've seen doctor after doctor. I've been there, blah, blah, blah. He must have had a similar health story to me. But I would do anything. I would pay for you for your first session with this doctor just to try and get you there because I really think he might be able to help." And it actually turned out to be a doctor that was, not the only part of the puzzle, but a huge part of my trajectory towards better health. So that was pretty amazing. The power of, speaking out and being brave enough to speak out about what I'd gone through. Because as I said before, it's such a spectrum. It's not easy to describe when, people are like, "Oh, so you're better now?" And they used to say that to me, and I'd be like, "Well, yeah, because I'm not sleeping like 14 hours straight, but I'm still not where I want to be. So yeah, it's a really tricky one for people around you to understand. And that's another hard part of being unwell, is just not feeling like anyone gets it.
Yeah. I mean, especially people haven't gone through something like that. It's like, what do you mean you're sleeping 14 hours a day?
Yeah. Although, I'm tired too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think you're this tired. Because I wouldn't, physically not be able to go to work 9 to 5 like you are. So when you tell me you're tired, it's like, no, I would actually be falling asleep at my desk if I were you. And I know we all get tired, fatigue is normal in some ways. If we don't sleep enough, then we're going to get tired, but it's a different kind of tired. And it was debilitating is the word I like to use.
What is your routine and health? What are some of your health rituals looking like nowadays? Now you're out of that and you're kind of like doing some cool stuff.
Well, that one of my most favorite tools in my health, what should I call it?
Let's go with toolbox.
In my toolbox. I was trying to think of a better word, but we'll stick with toolbox. Is my infrared sauna. I was doing a lot of detoxing and a lot of different detoxes with, my naturopath that were really helping. Looking at my heavy metal levels and looking at my viral levels. And I really wanted to start flushing things, but you can take all these, supplements and if your elimination pathways aren't working properly, I think, it's not kind of finishing the job. Well, that's how I felt anyway. And so for me, I'd never been much of a sweater. So I started using an infrared sauna at a local gym and didn't notice much in the beginning. But when I started using it more regularly, I'd never felt better in my life. And so, yeah, I've always banged on to all my friends and family. Anyone that follows me on social media will see it as well. It's honestly one of my, my favorite tools to continuing to better my health now as well. I love my kinesiologist. I am a really big fan of kinesiology. I know it's not for everyone. I still have seen psychologists over the years. It's not that doesn't resonate with me. That was really great too. But nowadays, because I'm not feeling so heavy and I don't have something so heavy going on with my health, the kinesiology sessions, work really well for me. I like that it involves more of your senses. I love the element of touch, laying down on my kinesiologist table and having her put her hands on me and, feel around different muscles and points in the body and, help me breathe. And, she's got the oils in the room. And yeah, it's one of the most incredible experiences. And, it took me a while to find a really good one, but that's definitely in the toolbox. God, there's so many. I think having a green juice every day is really up there too. Just like an organic green juice with, a really deep hit of nutrients straight into the bloodstream. I just don't think you can beat it.
You feel very refreshed after a morning green juice, that's for sure.
Yeah. You can't beat that feeling.
You mentioned kinesiology. Like, what is your favorite part of kinesiology? Because I'm also a big fan, but I know that people tend to get different things from their kinesiology session. So I'm curious to hear what you particularly like about it. because for me, like, it's like 40
really
minutes
hard to explain, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like
whoa, do I want to take them into the room with me, or is it a little too personal?
For me, it's an emotional thing. That's what I like about it, because
for sure,
they tap into the body and that, they can find blockages and things. And then I like getting into the emotional aspect, because for me as a bloke, I don't find there's a lot of other places I can safely for me anyway, get into that kind of experience. Whereas I go and see my kinesiologist and we talk about traumas and all these kind of things. And I love that. So for me, it's a great outlet, but I appreciate it can be different for others,
Yeah. I try to explain this to my friends because I've sent a few of them there now and everyone's loved it, even if they were skeptics in the beginning. I've like really quickly run down this rabbit hole of health, like because I needed to, whereas, you know, some of my friends and family are just kind of showing interest now. And I think it sort of hits you when you need it. You know, you're not going to start doing these types of things like seeing a kinesiologist if you don't need to. But I love the feeling of getting off the table and feeling a million times lighter, and like almost like it's almost like my chest is really light and I can use my heart again. I don't know how to describe it in any other way, but I think because of the things that we go through in life, we tend to like kind of freeze up, you know, we tense our neck, we block our heart, and all of a sudden, you know, we're not open to receiving or giving love in the way that we're capable of. And when I get off that table, like I've been there this week, so I'm open-hearted if anyone needs some love. But I just get off the table and I go about my day, and I'm vibrating so high. I'm sitting in such a high emotion, and I really noticed that I start to attract things in. Like, honestly, I walked out of my kinesiology appointment this week, and there were two things that had been playing on my mind. They were business things, and they were just things that like had been teetering along. But I'm like, when are these going to like be, you know, when are we going to move forward with this? And I came out and I had two messages that were not the end result, but of like great momentum for both of these things. Like I literally walked out and was vibrating high, looking outside, and then bang. I'm like, why does this always happen? I don't know how to explain it, but it's this I think it's this level of like letting go and feeling lighter and not being so tense and fixated on how things should be. And then when you let go, things just sort of drop in organically.
I love that. Yeah, just like you just drop into that parasympathetic nervous system, calm, open heart. Yeah, everything's actually pretty good, you know.
Yeah, you can hear the birds like really loudly.
Right.
You know, like there's so many little things that I'm like, wow, I didn't even notice the bird noises when I walked in. Like that's crazy that I can be so wired and so in my head when I walk into my appointment, and so in my body, and so just, you know, where I should be trying to be more often when I walk out.
How do you maintain that?
I
can't. More kinesiology.
Oh, Alex, if I had the answer for you. No, I mean, you get better. It's like a muscle, right? You train it over and over and over again. Now, like you know, I can go longer between my kinesiology appointments, depending on, you know, what's going on in my life at the time, depending on my circumstances. But initially, I really struggled with it. I had no idea what she meant when she's like, you need to think about your answer to this problem and we need to resolve this with love. I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? You know, you're feeling really blocked. You're really closed off at the moment. Your heart's closed off. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And yeah, it does take time and practice, but meditation is huge. Like for being able to drop out of that fight or flight state, that in your head, you know, state. I don't know about you, but I'm someone who is really good at overthinking things. I think a lot of people are, but it's taken me a lot of years to slow that down and to think about things and go, that person did this. I could either have a hissy fit and think, you know, our friendships, they don't like me or whatever, or I could just sit back and observe that and think, I'm going to get off that train because I'm not going down that. I'm not going on that path. We really don't want to know where that train's going. I'm going to sit back and observe these thoughts, process what I'm feeling. And then it's really interesting, you know, what drops in and how I often think, I bet you know, they're just going through something at the moment and that's why they've responded in this way. Or it's really helped me to develop so many more healthy, you know, ways to respond to situations in my life as well. And the reason I like to go into this so far is because, you know, we sort of broadly said we'd speak about, you know, my health and whatnot on this podcast. And this is, you know, this is half of it in my eyes anyway.
Yeah.
Your emotional health is everything. Like I remember watching a video when I was deep down the rabbit hole of, reading journal articles about chronic fatigue and trying to do my own research because I just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. So I thought I'll take it into my own hands. I remember coming across an interview with a lady who said, I was just so not in the right place in my life. I was in the wrong job. I was in the wrong relationship. I was living in the wrong state. Like I wasn't aligned with the weather, with my diet, everything was off. And I started slowly developing the skill of using my intuition and meditating and, getting some help in guiding myself to a healthier mindset. And once I'd approached these things in my life and started, being more aligned, my chronic fatigue went. So I've never forgot that interview. I was like, wow, maybe some people's is just emotional. I know for me, there were some physical things that were off, and, even in my bloods in the end, there were some things off, but for some people, maybe it's just emotional. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, if we could just sit on that for silence so people could think on that. No, totally. I had Ina Segal, who is a great, I don't even know how to describe what she does. She does clairvoyant work, but she's all about like understanding that our emotions affect our body, right? And certain blockages and things will relate to certain physical parts of our body. I also had a neurologist on, Nick Moss, and he says that for the brain, it doesn't know the difference between an emotional trauma and a physical trauma. It's just a trauma. Now, some of it manifests in our physical body. Maybe our hip is bung because we haven't made that major life decision that we probably could have, and then other things are mental, and our brain doesn't know the difference. And that's why when these emotional things come up, if we don't deal with them and we fucking stuff them down, like I'm not dealing with that, it's going to come back up, maybe in a day, maybe in a week, maybe in a year. And if we don't address it then, over time, these things manifest in the physical body, and there's entire books on like what each part of the body is related to. And I find that fascinating because there's so much resistance to, it's meditation, right? Like even just the other day, I said to someone, I was like, oh, well, if meditating on that for maybe 10 minutes could really help, and here I am preaching again. So no wonder he told me to get stuffed, but there's so much.
I've given up on telling people to meditate.
Yeah,
I just wait till they come to me now. What's the saying about when the teachers wanted, they'll show up or something?
Yeah. And in that moment, I was just like, because that's something I've been doing more recently, where if something comes up and it's like, I'm feeling all this negative thing about it, I'll actually take myself out of the space and I'll go and sit with my eyes closed and just feel it for as long as I can and just experience it, and it'll disappear or it'll change, or like this thought will drop in and I'm like, oh, right. Yeah. Maybe it's compassion, understanding where they're at, whatever it might be. And it's so powerful. And yet there is so much resistance to the idea of just sitting and meditating. Yet, as you said, like it's half the work here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did some recent work with my kinesiologist over the last maybe the last year, on really going back and sitting in that meditative state and being intentional with my meditations and thinking about the things that were really getting to me, and then going to that place and then letting the emotions drop in. So if I'm, really stressing about a problem with, a friend, for example, that's been really getting me down and I've been really unsure how to approach it and it's making me feel all these feelings, and I'm like, well, I don't have time for this. I'm just going to have to work. So I've just got to push this out of the way and suppress it because I really can't deal with these emotions right now. As you said, like you do that, you can only do that so many times before, you explode, or before, you have a mental breakdown. I don't know. But we're really good at doing that, including myself. We're really good at going, I'm too busy for this. I've got more important things to do than deal with this emotion right now, and pushing it to the side. So often what I'll do with my kinesiologist is go to those places and really think about those things that are triggering me, drop into how I'm feeling, and then just sit there with it. And sometimes I struggle to do it on my own at home, which I'm really starting to try and learn to do. But you have to let that emotion pass through you, and then it's gone. You know, you'll often find that you've got no charged emotion to that circumstance anymore. It's amazing.
So to someone who is perhaps listening and resisting that idea, what would you suggest to do to start?
The idea of sitting with the emotion.
Yeah. Like, is it feeling negative and go and sit in silence for 10 minutes? Like,
yeah, I think, the first step is you need to learn how to get into a proper meditative state. Like, I think, lots of people say I meditate, but do you meditate? Like, I thought I meditated too, until I'd properly dropped in one day and I was like, oh, wow, that's what it's supposed to feel like. And you can do that you can go so far through guided meditation. But for me, I actually had a Vedic meditation teacher do I think I did 1 or 2 sessions with him. He's from Ascending Minds. His name is Jeff, and he was incredible. We did like a full little ceremony, and he gave me a mantra. And that time, the day I sat next to him and meditated, was the day that I thought, wow, this is proper meditation right here. So, maybe seeking an expert's help to really help you try and meditate. Because when I now, as I said, I'm going through something and I need to let the feeling process through, I need to sit in my own space and be alone, and I need to face it. I need to drop into that state, which is, how do you even describe it? It's you're almost, you feel like you're on another planet. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to properly put it into words when you're really like proper meditating. And then you still, because you can still think really clearly, right? Like, you can still go, this is what my intentions are. You can still use your mind properly. It's not like you're out of it or anything.
Right.
Yeah. And so, then going to that place, thinking about what you're going through, thinking about the person, visualizing the person that's making you feel angry or upset, seeing them, touching them, visualizing yourself touching them, and then feeling the emotion that comes up around what they've put you through or what you're going through with them at that time, and just sitting with it. Sometimes I'll get tears in my eyes, or, sometimes I'll really be like, this is coming out, this is coming out, like, and then sitting with it as long as you can until it passes through you. And you will get to a point where you just think, oh, okay, I'm feeling pretty good to stop now, and then go back to my day. But you do really need to set aside the time, right? Like, you can't just give yourself 5 minutes in the middle of your day. Like, you need to let yourself feel it, and you need to give yourself as much time as you need to be feeling it, depending on, how much it's affecting you.
Yeah, you can't be on a timer like, okay, I've got 4 minutes to deal with this emotion.
Yeah. Maybe write the afternoon off. No.
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe some of us do need to write the afternoon off to move through some stuff, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Feel better
I
afterwards.
think for someone like you and I who's so proactive with it, like, we probably could set aside an hour, because we're not dealing with, we're dealing with new stuff, not really old stuff. Hopefully, I'm sure there's still some old stuff, but yeah, I do feel like I'm quite a light person nowadays. Like, I'll often have people say, you've got a really good aura. And I'm like, yeah, it didn't come for free. Like, if I was still, carrying a lot of the stuff that, stem right back from my childhood, I don't know if people would be saying that to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I worked for this aura, baby.
Yeah. I love it.
So let's shift gears a bit. You hosted a TV show last year.
I did. My dream job.
Yeah. Tell me a bit more about Natural Living and what it's about.
Yeah. So this is a really funny one. I'll quickly touch on the story, because I really feel like I attracted this opportunity. And,
yeah, totally. It's a great manifestation story.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. I actually sat down after doing a little course, and they touched on the law of attraction in this course, which I started becoming really fascinated about. And a part of the course is that we had to get really clear in our intentions in what we wanted in our career. And I think I've always been like good at setting goals, but maybe they've been a little bit vague. And this particular teacher, she made me go deep on it. She said, all right, you're saying you want to be a host on TV. What does that mean? Like, what does that look like? How long for? What are you doing? What's the genre? And I really started to think, wow, maybe I'm not getting clear on it because I don't believe I'm worthy of it. Like, maybe I just think, oh, I'll take any hosting job because then I can maybe one day, like, move across into the genre that I'm passionate about, right? Like, we think we just are so good at, dimming down our goals because we don't think we're worthy of something bigger. And I was like, all right, stuff it. I'd love to say another word there, but stuff it. This is what I want. I want my own health show, right? I don't want to be sitting on a couch discussing topics. Like, hey, I'm open to that too. But like the end one here, the end goal, like the number one is my own show where I have creative control to cover health topics in the way that I wish that I had access to in my early 20s or when I was going through my health stuff. It's incredible. I got the phone call maybe 2.5, 3 years after first setting that goal and physically writing it down, saying, I want my own health show. I want to be the sole host, and I want it to be in the wellness category. Got the phone call from my agent. Hey, there's this show. It's already all concepted out. They had a host, but it hasn't worked out. And they want to interview you. They want to meet you. And pretty quickly after that, it had been confirmed. And what was really interesting is I moved into producing it because the guys from the production company mainly work across a lot of male demographic shows like fishing shows and lifestyle shows. So their passion and interest wasn't actually in the health space, but they knew and they could see that it was, something we needed to bring to TV because, it's where we're headed. People are becoming more conscious and people want this information. So I was able to step into a producer role, pretty much produced the whole show alongside the head producer at the production company. So it became so much more than just a hosting job, as a talent, they like to call us. Not sure if I've got any talent, but as a talent, they like to just book us as the host, and we're given this information and we have to learn about it. It doesn't matter what genre it's in. You've got to become an expert, and you might get the script 3 days before, and then you've got to show up and act like you can run the show. Whereas with this was cool because I was like, where do we want to take this? And, working with some of the partners, how do you want to present your brand story to the public? Like, how can we educate them around health and wellness, so that they walk away feeling inspired after watching the show? So yeah, Natural Living with Tegan Martin. I manifested it. If you want to learn how to manifest, watch The Secret.
Fuck yeah, baby.
That's a good starting point.
Yeah, I know. And to your manifestation point there as well, I use this analogy where it's like, if you want to manifest something, think of it as if you're telling someone that you need them to go and buy something from the shop, right? Now, if I just say, hey, Tegan, can you get me some yogurt, right? You're just going to go to the shop and there's going to be a million options here, right? And you're probably going to bring back Yoplait with some flavor in it. And I'm just like, that's not what I want at all. Now, if I said, Tegan, can you please go to the shop and grab me some Greek yogurt? It's in the third aisle. You walk in, turn left, and then it's in the third aisle on your right. You go to the end. It'll be at the top left, about 3 meters from the end. It's blue and it's got a white tub. I want 500 mils. If you could bring that to me, that'd be great. Now, the likelihood there is that you're going to bring home something much closer to what I'm after, right?
Yeah.
And it's the exact same thing with manifestation. Like, if we just say like, I want more money, it's like, what does that mean? Right?
5 cents.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You might find a 5 cent coin in your driveway, but it's probably not what you were thinking.
Exactly. But if we get quite specific with it, that's a really good start. So
yeah. I mean, it's a whole other topic that we could go into. Like, I've learned so much. I think my first experience in knowing anything about it was watching The Secret, and I was like, what is this stuff? and then it just evolved from there, and now there are some really key thought leaders in that space who are teaching it and breaking it down in a way that's really, really easy to understand. But I think the part that took me the longest to grasp was that you need to be sitting in one of those higher vibrating emotions. And they talk about, how you can actually measure your emotions and how they vibrate at a scientific level in the measurement of, I think it's called hertz or something.
Yeah.
You would know more about it than me. I don't know why I'm telling a story, but it took me a long time to grasp that you couldn't just kind of wake up in whatever state and be like, I want this, visualize it. You're not going to be getting far if you're sitting in a state of grief or sadness where you're trying to call these things in.
Spot on. If people want to find out more about you or contact you or watch your shows, where can they find you?
Yeah, sure. Most of my content is over at Tegan.Martin, and it's Tegan. A lot of people spell that wrong. And I do have a website, which is linked in my bio there as well. But if you'd like to watch Natural Living with Tegan Martin, you can jump on 7plus and type it in, and it's all there. So first season's there, and we'll be working on second season very soon. So keep an eye out, and I'll be announcing it on my channels when we launch.
Amazing. Tegan, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been incredible.
Thank you, Alex. Love chatting to you always.
Awesome.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was really good.
Yeah, how was that?
Sorry, I blabbered a bit sometimes, but
no, I thought that was really good.
It was just the spoons part. I was like, nah. Abort.
I liked it. I mean, I have no idea where that analogy came from, but I think it worked.
Thank you. That was so great. I knew we wouldn't have any trouble.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. That's
I did. I'm gonna take a little snapshot of this situation.
Yeah.
Before you hang up. What have you got for the rest of the day?
Rest of the day, I have a meeting with a research company in an hour, which would be good.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we're doing some more in-depth research into our customers and like some really cool things like what do they fear most? What do they want more of in life? Like these kind of things.
Wow.
So that'd be cool.
So is this like through, how do you get this through your email database or?
Yeah. So this is specifically for our customers.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
I want to know like, what is the thing that binds everyone who's purchased from Found Space? Like, what is the one thing that links everyone? Because there's so many differences in terms of age and where they live and why they're buying the sauna and that. But I know that there's something that brings us all together, and I want to be clear on what that is. Yeah.
Imagine if it comes up as something super clear. That'd be cool.
Yeah. And it might not, but we also might find that like 70% of our clients like watching golf videos on YouTube.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, you've obviously done the basic stuff of who they've spoken to when they first called in and stuff. Like, I don't know. It for me, it was just like, it was just the vibe of the people like that running the company that made me trust you so quickly. I'm sure there's a lot of that.
Yeah, that's right. So
can't really see you very well, but
oh shit.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool. One more, just a bit closer. Awesome. That sounds really fun. I love how your brain works.
Yeah,
like,
thanks.
Right. I want to know what the common denominator is here. Is everyone got the same fear of spiders?
Exactly.
It could be something really silly.
Yeah. Or it could be something really, really mundane, but that's something that really interests me. So I'm talking with a research company about that a bit later, and we're going to do some other stuff as we go into other markets just to kind of help with that. So we're not just thinking, well, I think our customers want this. It's like, no, they've told us that this is what they're interested in.
So. We know exactly what they're after and why they keep coming back. Yeah.
How about you?
Do you have like smaller stuff that you sell that would retain your customers? Like, obviously we're not buying a sauna often, but is there? I haven't actually looked.
So what we're working on at the moment, Tegan, like we rebranded to Found Space, and we did that because where we're going is to create a suite of products that people can put into their home.
Yeah.
Right. So they can address their hydration, they can address sauna, they can address movement, they can address mindfulness all through our app and other physical products that they have. So we're creating a space of wellness in people's homes because at the moment,
is there a filtered water system coming?
There is.
Yes. I feel like I don't trust anyone with these.
Yeah. Right.
Like, so I know you'll do the right research on one.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be very similar to the one I use personally. So that's the thing right there. Like if you want to get into all of these areas, it's you have to become an expert on water filters and then an expert on the best way to move. Like, is it altitude training or is it CrossFit or is it this? It is overwhelming. And so what we'll do over time is bring all of those products into the one place. So we can say, hey, like, here's everything that you need. We've done all the research. Like,
that's so cool.
You can kind of implement them in. So
yeah, it's just like that. It's that trust. Like if I knew you had a water filter, I'd buy it from, like, I'm actually in the process of being like, which one do I want now? Like I've been ordering the drums for years, like, cause I found out very early on that, you know, the water was a big part of the puzzle, but I still don't, I don't want to sit there for hours and hours reading, like, I want to trust someone else. And if you've got all the right products under your, umbrella, like, God, it'd be so easy for your customers.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where we're going. So we're launching our app soon as well, and education stuff will be in there, but eventually that app will become a place where we can deliver non-physical products. So we can deliver like meditation courses and those kind of things. So maybe it's home workouts, that sort of stuff. So just bringing it all into one place. So it's easier for really people. Easy. Yeah, that's awesome. But currently we're just doing saunas. Yeah.
That's a big thing to be covering off. It's not an easy product to be selling.
It is, yeah. And we are opening in New Zealand next month, as you know, and it'll be another country soon after that. But so there's good things happening. In many ways, we're at early stages of what we're doing with Found Space.
Well, you're still young. You've still got plenty in you, I hope you're not going to be retired at 35.
No. How old are you again? We're pretty similar age, I think.
What do you reckon?
I think you're still in your 20s. Are you like 28 or 29?
You're very close. Yeah. I'm 30 in September.
Okay. Yeah. So we're like a year apart. We're very similar.
How are you, older or younger?
I'm turning 29 in April at the end of this month.
Oh, you're a baby.
Oh, come on, mate.
People still call me a baby. I'm like, I don't feel like a baby. I feel like a veteran in this industry.
I've been here for years.
Yeah. I've been here longer than you.
Funny. Cool. And I again, grateful for the podcast, but also just being able to connect with you again, because it's really, to be honest, I actually struggled to find really driven people at a similar age to ourselves.
Really? Actually, I probably do as well.
Yeah.
I don't mix with a lot of people my age. Maybe that's
right. That's what I mean. And the people my age are like, oh yeah, like I think I want to do that. I'm like, I can't deal with that. No, this is what we're doing,
Bro. It's the procrastination and the million attempts of things. I'm like, I don't know why we were born with what we were born with. It's obviously just a little bit of extra wisdom, or like old souls or something.
Yeah, maybe something like that. I'm not sure, but
anyway, I don't know. I always put it down to my illness, like fast tracking my growth of like having to sort things out and know myself a little better. But I think I've always been like that since a kid as well. Yeah.
We'll keep doing what you're doing, mate.
Yeah, you too. Very very inspiring, Alex.
Yeah, no, right back at you. And what do you got on for this afternoon?
I actually have 2 essays due this weekend, 2 assignments. And I've just found out I'm hosting on the morning show on Tuesday for a sleep wellness product. And I will probably just get my script drop in this afternoon. So I'm like, stress levels are a bit high, but anyway, we'll go meditate first and then we'll start them. Yeah. It's just like when they throw like speaking stuff at you last minute, it's just so common. I'm like, why is everyone in this industry so unorganized? Like, you knew that we were going to do this weeks ago, yet you'd now decided like, okay, we're going to do it Tuesday, and they don't tell me until like a couple of days before. And then they land me with these huge scripts, and then they're like, but put in your own words. And I'm like, put it in my own words. Yeah, sure.
So do you have to go and learn a whole script now?
Yeah, I'm like trying to figure out like where to put my time. Like, do I go really well in my essay, or do I think the morning show comes first, because no one wants to stuff up on the morning show.
Yeah, that's true. And what's the product?
It's called Rocheway Beauty Sleep. I'm an ambassador for them.
Okay.
But they do heaps of wellness products. They're in chemists and stuff. But it's got valerian and hops and collagen and probiotics in it. And it just kind of, you take it and half an hour later, you're sleeping. Like, yeah. So it's a really cool product. But they put a lot of money into their formulation. Like, they've got really great naturopaths, and they source the best ingredients and whatnot. So the product is quite a high price point. And when you're someone like yourself or I who understands that, you want to pay a little bit more for better supplements, it's fine. But I think it's a new product. And a lot of people like, it's too expensive. And I'm like, you just don't get it. It's because you're buying Blackmores, which is super cheap and full of fillers and stuff. Like, it is a little bit frustrating, this space. Like, because you can't really quite get people to understand why they need to invest in their health.
Totally. Yeah. It's not unless they've come across, an illness like yourself or they've seen the end result time and time again enough to be like, okay, I don't want to end up like that guy.
Yeah. I guess you see it all the time. So you're exposed to it, but a lot of people aren't. So yeah,
cool.
That's my afternoon. So
nice.
Not too much fun.
No, I'm sure it'll be all right. Cool.
All right, Alex.
Thanks again.
Nice to see you. Have a lovely day and good luck with your meeting. I hope there's some common denominators in the fears.
Yeah, we'll see. Awesome. Thanks.
All right, what do I have to do to save this?
I'll just end it and it'll save. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. See you, Alex.
All right, ciao.
Bye.